Look at me, I'm living free, free and clean amongst the sea people. We look for pirates and search for gold. Life is an adventure with the sea people.
Alright, so last night we got the debut of the Oath of the Open Sea. This is a new subclass for Paladin by Matthew Mercer. It's the one that Ford is taking on as his Paladin Oath. So this just dropped on D&D Beyond not too long ago. So I've given it a cursory glance over, not really a whole lot, like delving super deep into it. But I figured, hey, let's do a read through, let you guys know what I think just upon first glance. Again, like I'm thinking about this from a mechanical perspective and thinking about the Paladin playstyle. So how does this subclass really build onto that, and what is this adding into the game? So the Oath of the Open Sea calls to seafaring warriors, swashbuckling sailors, and journeying guardians who seek the thrill of an endless horizon. Driven to seek the adventure and mystery across and beneath every endless oceanic expanse, paladins who swear this oath stand against those who could deny the liberties afforded to like-minded travelers, rooting out the tyrannical and corrupt that claim any shore. Such guardians believe in the natural beauty of the sea, often making offerings and prayers to entities like the Wild Mother or Stormlord that influence safe passage, while often feeling called to hunt those monstrosities that seek to terrorize and spoil the waters with wanton violence and ill intent. Alright, so these oath spells, they get Create or Destroy Water, and then Expeditious Retreat. So Create or Destroy Water. The funny thing with Create or Destroy Water is any like stat block, we're talking like fire elementals. I think there's only like one or two that have this. But there is a bit of an exploit that got figured out with Create or Destroy Water, where you can literally one-shot a fire elemental with this spell. Create or Destroy Water offers some really incredible utility. I think this is a great spell. The fact that it can one-shot some encounters, I think if you know that you have a character that takes this, and then you throw in a fire elemental, you're likely looking at that thing getting taken out in one round, if they're aware of this like mechanic. Alright, and then the next spell to get is Expeditious Retreat. Casting time, 1 bonus action, duration of 10 minutes, requiring your concentration. This spell allows you to move at an incredible pace. When you cast this spell, and then as a bonus action on each of your turns until the spell ends, you can take the dash action. What I really like about this, especially on Paladin, is this is allowing you to get into melee range and be the frontliner that you're meant to be. As a bonus action, it's just so much easier. Taking the dash action, move, double your movement, like Expeditious Retreat on a Paladin specifically, I really like this combo, and I hadn't really considered what this did to enhance the Paladin playstyle. So I will say Expeditious Retreat and Create or Destroy Water, not only are they pretty like in theme with what's happening here, but Expeditious Retreat is really, like I said, helping out that Paladin playstyle. Augury, this one is mostly to me a ribbon feature, but honestly the spell is really as good as your DM allows it to be. And with a DM like Matt Mercer, I'm sure that they get a lot of love out of this spell over on Critical Role. So for a casting time of 1 minute, duration of instantaneous, by casting Gem and Laden Sticks, rolling Dragon Bones, laying out ornate cards, yada yada, you receive an omen from an otherworldly entity about the results of a specific course of action you plan to take within the next 30 minutes. The DM chooses the following possible omens: wheel for good results, woe for bad results, wheel and woe for both good and bad results, nothing for results that aren't especially good or bad. This spell doesn't take into account any possible circumstances that might change the outcome, such as the casting of additional spells or the loss or gain of a companion. Like, I'm not a big fan of this spell because it almost feels like it's a kind of like get out of jail free card. Well, I say get out of jail free. It does cost you a 2nd level spell slot. On Paladin, that is pretty expensive. I don't really know that Augury, to me, like, Augury is just not one that I really love putting onto expanded spell lists. Misty Step. It's Misty Step. This is one of the best spells in the game for transportation. This is like the preeminent like teleportation spell. But casting time of 1 bonus action, duration of instantaneous, briefly surrounded by silvery mist, you may teleport up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space that you can see. This helps you get out of so many problems, difficult terrain. You need to get out of an AoE that you know is coming up. This is just a great positioning tool. Misty Step is just incredible. So Call Lightning, I had initially given this blue. I'm going to switch that over into purple, and I'll explain why. So Call Lightning, what I really think about with spells that are just damaging spells for Paladin is, does it outdo Divine Smite? Now, Call Lightning, This is a casting time of 1 action, duration of 10 minutes, and it requires your concentration, has a range of 120 feet. A storm cloud appears in the shape of a cylinder that is 10 feet tall with a 60-foot radius centered on a point you can see within 120 feet directly above you. The spell fails if you can't see a point in the air where the storm cloud could appear, for example, if you're in a room that can't accommodate the cloud. When you cast the spell, choose a point that you can see under the cloud. A bolt of lightning flashes down from the cloud to that point. Each creature within 5 feet of that point must make a dexterity saving throw. A creature takes 3d10 lightning damage on a failed save, or half as much on a successful one. That's about as much damage as if you had just used Divine Smite at 2nd level, well, without the damage of your melee weapon attack. On each of your turns until the spell ends, you can use your action to call down lightning in this way again, targeting the same point or a different one. So this does have more potential to do more damage than Divine Smite does. So I do think that this is worth a purple. There may be situations in which you can't always get this to pop off. Call Lightning, I think that the potential damage output, everything else involved with this, I do have to give it purple. So Tidal Wave, a big thing for the Paladin is not just that they are a major striker, but they are also a really big controller. You want to be in the front line and, pushing people around. You want to make sure that people are focused on hitting you, not your wizards or your sorcerers or whoever. Tidal Wave is going to help you do that. So for a casting time of 1 action, duration of instantaneous, you conjure up a wave of water that crashes down on an area within range. The area can be up to 30 feet long, up to 10 feet wide, and up to 10 feet tall. Each creature in that area must make a dexterity saving throw. On a failed save, a creature takes 4d8 bludgeoning damage and is knocked prone. On a successful save, a creature takes half as much damage and isn't knocked prone. The water then spreads out across the ground in all directions, extinguishing unprotected flames in its area within 30 feet of it, and then vanishes. So again, you're looking at something that will one-shot anything with that water susceptibility trait. But the big thing with Tidal Wave, this is a massive wall that you're not only erecting to help your teammates out, but this is pushing people away from you if you need them to. You could say that maybe, it does say each creature in the area, so it doesn't damage objects, right? Okay, so you could say in sailing adventures that Tidal Wave is a way for you to get some push, I guess, for your boat. That sounds pretty risky there. I am trying to think of some utility that you can possibly get out of this. But Tidal Wave, this is a great controlling spell. Really helpful for the Paladin. If you just need some wave clear, this is literally wave clear. I really like this on the Paladin. I have to give this purple. Control Water's got a lot going on for its mechanics. You can go check this out. If I read down the whole spell, that'll make this a really long video. But for a casting time of 1 action, duration of 10 minutes, concentration. Until the spell ends, you control any freestanding water in an area you choose that is a cube up to 100 feet on a side. You can choose from any of the following effects when you cast this spell. As an action on your turn, you can repeat the same effect or choose a different one. And all the different effects, let's open that up in a different tab. There's Flood, Part Water, Redirect Flow. I know Whirlpool is the big bad scary one. I will say that Control Water is probably more impactful in certain campaign settings that are more marine-based, piratey themed kinds of adventures. If you don't feel that you're doing a whole lot, out on the sea, you might not get a whole lot of love out of this spell. Now, you could also say that you can go to a lake and cause the spell to happen. I think that this spell is very situationally strong. In those situations, it's really going to pay off to take it. However, Control Water, I'm going to leave it at blue just for the fact of the matter that it does rely on there needs to be a body of freestanding water that you choose. It's a cube up to 100 feet on a side, etc., etc. So it's a very conditionally strong spell. Freedom of movement. You touch a willing creature for the duration the target's movement is unaffected by difficult terrain, and spells and other magical effects can neither reduce the target's speed nor cause the target to be paralyzed or restrained. Duration of 1 hour. This does not require your concentration. Again, casting time of 1 action. The target can also spend 5 feet of movement to automatically escape from non-magical restraints, such as manacles or a creature that has it grappled. Finally, being underwater imposes no penalties on the target's movement or attacks. So what this does is, instead of you having to use your action to possibly make an escape attempt, now you can just use 5 feet of your movement to automatically escape it. Here at these higher tiers of play, we're talking about creatures that have the swallow action. So if you're grappled by its bite, it can then choose to swallow you. This is a direct counter to that. So if you cast this on a character, now Paladin does have a very limited number of 4th level spell slots. So freedom of movement, I do think would be better on, you know, let's say your bard or somebody that is a full spellcaster. All right, so Commune with Nature, I mostly think that this is a ribbon, so I'm going to give it green. Reason why, casting time of 1 action, range itself, duration of instantaneous. You briefly become one with the nature and gain knowledge of the surrounding territory. In the outdoors, the spell gives you knowledge of the land within 3 miles of you. In caves and other natural underground settings, the radius is limited to 300 feet. The spell doesn't function when nature has been replaced by construction, such as in dungeons and towns. I do like that flavor right there. You instantly gain knowledge of up to 3 facts of your choice about any of the following subjects as they relate to the area: terrain and bodies of water, prevalent plants, minerals, animals, or peoples, powerful celestials, fey, fiends, elementals, or undead, influences from other planes of existence, and then it says buildings. Unless you're really, really hurting and you're just like screwing up all these survival checks and whatever, like I just don't know what Commune with Nature is getting you that simply just going out and doing like simple survival isn't doing, especially at 17th level. Like, I think at this point you're going to have all the gold to take care of any food that you want. Like, yeah, there are, you could say that this could let you know about a lich that's in the area or something like that. Usually you're already going to kind of know that in your campaign, right? Like, you're going after a creature. I guess this is just giving you a heads up that, yeah, this dude is here or something. But Commune with Nature, I mostly just think that this is a ribbon. All right, and then Maelstrom, I am going to bump this one up to purple. For a 5th level spell slot, casting time of 1 action, duration of 1 minute, does require your concentration. A swirling mass of 5-foot deep water appears in a 30-foot radius, centered on a point you can see within the range. The point must be on the ground or in a body of water. Until the spell ends, that area is difficult terrain, and any creature that starts its turn there must succeed on a strength saving throw, or take 6d6 bludgeoning damage, and be pulled 10 feet towards the center. So, out in the water, of course, this is scary. You can use this on land. So, Maelstrom sounds like yeah, you're not relying on a body of water to make this go off because it says it must be on ground or in a body of water. So, you do just essentially conjure this thing up. So, it is a little bit more helpful than control water. Now, until the spell ends, the area is difficult terrain. Things are going to have a harder time getting out of this thing. If they, like, straight up, their movement is already going to be more expensive for them. And any creature that starts its turn there must succeed on a strength saving throw or take 66 bludgeoning damage and be pulled 10 feet towards the center. So not only is it difficult terrain that's pretty hard to escape out of, right? We're talking a 30-foot radius. So this is actually like 60 feet wide. If it gets continually pulled 10 feet towards the center and its movement speed is already more expensive, if it doesn't have a fly speed or maybe a burrow speed, it's going to be very hard for a creature to escape this spell. I do think that this is a really effective control spell. Control is one of the things that paladins are trying to do, so Maelstrom I am going to give a purple. All right, so the channel divinity options, I've just highlighted a little bit more to let you guys know the mechanical side of it. So Marine Layer, as an action, you can channel the sea to create a thick fog of cloud that surrounds you and heavily obscures the area for 20 feet in all directions, following you as you move. You and any creatures you choose within 5 feet of you can see through the fog and suffer no penalties from being within it. The fog lasts for 10 minutes, spreads around corners, and cannot be dispersed. I think this feature is amazing, not only for the fact that it's making you think a bit more about the environment, right? We're talking about a heavily obscured area, such as darkness, opaque fog, or dense foliage, blocks vision entirely. So this is countering spellcasters now, because if they can't see you, they can't target you with spells. They can target the area with like an AoE spell, but they can't directly target you with spells now. This is a great counter right here. A creature effectively suffers from the blinded condition. A blinded creature can't see and automatically fails any ability check that requires sight. Attack rolls against the creature have advantage, and the creature's attack rolls have disadvantage. What this is doing is, because you can see through it, effectively, you walking through this area 20 feet in all directions, you're going to have advantage on attack rolls against any creature in this area that's relying on sight. Like, if it doesn't have blind sight or like something else, tremor sense, anything else to see you or know what's going on, you're going to have advantage on attack rolls against it. Marine Layer, I've given it purple. I'm honestly thinking this should probably lean towards gray. And gray, as I've told you before, is something that I do feel is a little bit overpowered. The fact that you can use your channel divinity and effectively just give yourself, like, as long as they're within... okay, the way to think about this is you use your action, blow your channel divinity, and then as long as you're making melee weapon attacks against creatures that are within that area, and they don't have a counter against this effect, then you have advantage on attack rolls against them. Not only that, any of your buddies that are grouped up next to you have advantage on attack rolls against those creatures. So I think Marine Layer, while the mechanic here is very well fleshed out, I do think that, like, this is leaning towards very, very potentially being overpowered, in my opinion, as a third level, like, paladin feature, especially for a resource cost just like Channel Divinity. Like, Fury of the Tides, as a bonus action, you can channel the powerful might of the waves to bolster your attacks. For 1 minute when you hit a creature with a weapon attack, you can choose to push the target 10 feet away from you. If the target is pushed into an obstacle or other creature, they take additional bludgeoning damage equal to your charisma modifier. I like this effect a lot. I like the control that's going on here. I think Matt Mercer may have played a little bit of Hades and gotten some inspiration from there. Because there's an effect over there from, I think it's Poseidon, that gives you basically, like, it bursts out whenever you take a dash, or I forget what it is. Anyways, there's like a knockback tied into, like, weapon attacks. So this feels very much like that. So, and I'm all here for this ability. I really like this, that it's making people think about two things that I really want them to think a bit more about, and that's setup in D&D and the environment. I like these Channel Divinity options, and I like Marine Layer, but I do feel like this is overtuned. And Matt Mercer has said that this is designed more so just for fun for Ford kind of a thing. So I do think that this is a little bit overtuned. However, both of these options, I really like what they're invoking. I think that Marine Layer, if something like this was ever to see like an official book, this would get toned down just a little bit. And I mean that just a little bit. I think it's just barely pushing it for me. All right, so here we're into the ones that I haven't really gotten to read through yet. So Aura of Liberation, starting at 7th level, you emanate an aura when you're not incapacitated. You and any creature of your choice within 10 feet cannot be grappled or restrained, as well as ignore penalties on movement or attacks while underwater. Creatures that are already grappled or restrained when they enter the aura can spend 5 feet of movement to magically escape non-magical restraints. You and any creature of your choice within 10 feet of you cannot be grappled or restrained. So you are immune to being grappled and restrained. So whenever we're talking about that, like, freedom of movement, allowing you to escape, like, something that's attempting to swallow you or bite you, wow. That is a really, really significant effect. And of course that's going to come into play at all tiers of play. I have to give that purple. Wow, that is a really good effect. Like, here at 7th level, you get a really good perk out of that freedom of movement spell. It is different. It's not quite the same, but man, that's pretty significant. Stormy Waters. At 15th level, you can call crashing waters around you as a reaction whenever a creature enters or exits your melee range. So, because it says this, does that mean that if you go Lance or, like, something, if you go Bugbear with this, would that be like a 15-foot, like, area? I'm curious. The creature takes 1d12 bludgeoning damage and must succeed on a strength saving throw or be knocked prone. So this is, again, it's like a more concentrated version of the Tidal Wave effect. You do it to one creature. Now, this is a reaction. You're not even really going to be worrying about attacks of opportunity. If something engages with you, then sure, worry about that then. However, this is a preemptive setup to, like, you can stop something from even getting close to one of your buddies that you're trying to protect. Stormy Waters. Now, 1d12, that's not a ton of damage. I totally realize that. It really shouldn't be if it's only tied into your reaction and it doesn't have any other cost other than your reaction. 1d12 is already really good. Must succeed on a strength saving throw or be knocked prone. Oh man, like Stormy Waters. Again, Paladin doesn't have a lot that they can use with their reaction. This is a great thing for them to get at 15th level. I have to call that purple. I think that it is going to be significant. Now, of course, there are creatures that are immune to getting knocked prone, beholders, usually creatures that have a hover speed. So do keep that in mind, I guess, but you're still doing 1d12 bludgeoning damage. So it's not like you just blow your reaction and get nothing out of it. And then Mythic Swashbuckler. At 20th level, you learn to channel the spirits of historic sea captains to briefly become a paragon of heroic adventure. As an action, you embrace these spirits of the sea, gaining the following benefits for 1 minute. Climbing costs no additional movement, and you have advantage on athletics checks that involve climbing. I mean, that is a mechanic, sure. I don't think it's going to be in every single fight, but, like, it is a mechanic, and I do think that it's a good feature. If you are within 5 feet of a creature and no other creatures are within 5 feet of you, you have advantage. So that's pulled from the Swashbuckler. That's just such a great effect. However, that might be a little bit redundant in that your marine layer is kind of giving that to you already, but I guess this is just a way for you to do that like anyways. So you're like always going to have advantage on attack rolls with this option. You can take the dodge action as a bonus action. Is there anything else competing for that, like part of the action economy? I guess just Fury of the Tides, but like you're usually going to do your Fury of the Tides, set that up, and then you do your Mythic Swashbuckler, right? Yeah, so I'm going to go on ahead and say that it's more stuff you can do with your bonus action on later turns after you've set that up. You have advantage on all dexterity ability checks and dexterity saving throws against effects you can see. And dexterity saving throws are going to be so common. You're not usually going to be blowing this like once per long rest feature just to pass or get advantage on a dexterity ability check outside of combat. And then once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. With everything that this is offering, I do give this an S. It could be pushing that to me. I do think that Marine Layer is the one thing that I am concerned about. I think Marine Layer is definitely overtuned. Just the mechanical implications that come with being heavily obscured is very significant, so that shouldn't be ignored. That might be something to reconsider if this is getting another pass. Other than that, though, I really like this Paladin. It feels like it's actually keeping up to par. I was kind of worried if it was going to keep up with Oath of Ancients, because we all know that that's an incredible subclass for Paladin, and I honestly thought that's what Ford was going to take last night. So the Oath of the Open Sea, I am going to give an S. It's pushing. I'll say with Marine Layer, it is pushing overpowered. But I think it might be a little overtuned. If I was making some kind of a change to it, would I really knock it down to lightly obscured? I don't think so. Lightly obscured just doesn't really do a whole lot in terms of mechanical, like, you know, help there. Maybe if it got a little bit of wording to bring it up with heavily obscured area, that's just a really, really heavy mechanic to throw onto a character class option. Especially with a resource cost like, you know, your Channel Divinity as an action and then the fog lasts for 10 minutes. That's pretty significant. And it can't be dispersed. So yeah, I'm going to put it at S, although I will say that with the caveat of, I think that the Oath of the Open Sea is likely pushing overpowered. So that's my breakdown of the Oath of the Open Sea. Again, this one we literally just heard about this last night. So yeah, let me know what you all think down in the comment section below. If you're new to my channel, I do a lot of D&D subclass reviews, homebrew reviews, home brewing over here. I talk a lot about design, so if that sounds like something that would interest you, why not go ahead and subscribe, do all the YouTube things. If you want to help me keep the lights on around here, you can go pick up some of my products over on the DMs Guild. You can become a patron over on my Patreon, or you can become a YouTube member right down here. Guys, that's going to be it for this one. I hope that you all are staying safe, staying healthy, and I can't wait to see you in the next one.